My husband begged me to sell my late father's house, saying we needed the money. Reluctantly, I agreed. Months later, I found a deed to a luxury apartment in another woman's name. My heart dropped. That night, I handed him a glass of champagne and smiled. To new beginnings, I toasted. He grinned until I pulled out the papers. "Oh, and this is yours." He flipped through the pages. His face went pale. "Wait, this is a prenup I never signed." I nodded, "And now you'll see why that was a big mistake." His jaw dropped as the lawyer walked in. "My name is Laura, and I'm a 42-year-old woman from Charleston, South Carolina. I've been married to my husband, Mark, for 17 years. We met during our college years at the College of Charleston and quickly fell in love. Mark was charming, ambitious, and had a way of making me feel like the most important person in the world. After graduation, we settled down in Charleston, building our lives together in this beautiful city. A few years ago, my father passed away, leaving me his historic home in the heart of Charleston's historic district. The house had been in our family for generations, a classic example of Charleston's unique architecture, complete with a piazza extending over the sidewalk, a feature not uncommon in our neighborhood. Inheriting this house meant the world to me. It was more than just bricks and mortar, it was a tangible connection to my family's history. The thought of raising our 2 children, Emma and Jacob, in the same home where I grew up filled me with a sense of continuity and belonging. However, Mark saw things differently. He began suggesting that we sell the house, arguing that maintaining such an old property was both costly and time-consuming. He painted a picture of financial freedom, of using the proceeds to invest in new ventures and secure our children's future. I was torn. The house was my sanctuary, a place filled with cherished memories. But Mark's arguments were compelling, and his enthusiasm for the idea was infectious. After months of discussions, I reluctantly agreed to sell. The house was quickly snapped up by a wealthy couple eager to own a piece of Charleston's history. The proceeds from the sale were substantial, and we deposited the funds into our joint account. Mark took the reins in managing the money, assuring me that he had plans to invest wisely. In the months that followed, I noticed subtle changes in Mark. He became increasingly distant, often working late and frequently traveling for business. His phone, once casually left on the kitchen counter, was now always in his pocket or face down. When I questioned him, he dismissed my concerns, attributing his behavior to the pressures of work and the complexities of managing investments. One afternoon, while organizing our home office, I stumbled upon a stack of documents that had been left out of place. As I sorted through them, a particular paper caught my eye, a deed to a luxury apartment in Miami. The apartment was located in the Icon Brickell, a high-end condominium complex known for its opulence. What struck me was that the deed wasn't in Mark's name or ours. Instead, it bore the name Samantha Blake. My heart pounded in my chest as I tried to make sense of it. Who was Samantha Blake? And why was Mark purchasing property under her name? That evening, I confronted Mark. I held up the deed and asked for an explanation. His face went pale, and he stammered through a poorly constructed story about a business investment, claiming that Samantha was a colleague and that the property was a flip project. His words felt hollow, and his eyes betrayed his anxiety. Unable to shake the gnawing suspicion, I decided to dig deeper. I hired a private investigator to uncover the truth. The findings were devastating. Mark had been leading a double life, using our money to fund an extravagant lifestyle with Samantha Blake, a woman he'd been seeing for over a year. They traveled together, dined in the finest restaurants, and lived in the luxury apartment in Miami, all on our dime. I was shattered. The betrayal cut deep, not just because of the infidelity, but because he had used the proceeds from my family's home to finance his affair. The house that meant so much to me, sold under the guise of securing our future, had been reduced to a bankroll for his deception. Determined to take control of the situation, I consulted with a lawyer. During our discussions, a significant detail emerged: Mark had never signed our prenuptial agreement. In the whirlwind of our engagement and wedding preparations, the document had been overlooked and remained unsigned. This oversight meant that our financial landscape was not as Mark might have assumed. Armed with this knowledge, I devised a plan. I invited Mark to a special dinner at home, suggesting that we needed to reconnect and discuss our future. He seemed relieved, perhaps thinking that his excuses had placated me. That evening, I prepared his favorite meal and set the table with our best china. I poured us both glasses of champagne and raised mine in a toast. To new beginnings, I said, forcing a smile. Mark grinned, clinking his glass with mine, seemingly oblivious to the storm that was about to break. As he took a sip, I slid a folder across the table toward him. "What's this?" he asked, setting down his glass. "Just some paperwork I found," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. He opened the folder and began flipping through the pages. His expression shifted from curiosity to confusion, and then to sheer panic. "This is a prenup," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I never signed this." I nodded, watching him intently. "Exactly. And now you'll see why that was a big mistake." At that moment, my lawyer entered the dining room, briefcase in hand. Mark's eyes darted between us, realization dawning on him. "What's going on, Laura?" he demanded, his earlier confidence evaporating. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. "Mark, I've been aware of your affair with Samantha. I know about the apartment in Miami, the trips, the dinners, all of it. You used the money from my father's house to fund your double life. But since you never signed the prenup, things aren't going to work out the way you might have planned." Mark's face turned ashen. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. My lawyer took over, outlining the steps we were about to take. Divorce proceedings would commence immediately. Given the circumstances and the evidence of his infidelity and financial misconduct, I would retain the majority of our assets, including what remained of the money from the sale of my father's house. Mark sat in stunned silence as the reality of his situation sank in. The man who had once been so confident, so sure of his deceptions, was now a shadow of himself. In the days that followed, Mark moved out of our home. The divorce was swift and largely in my favor. I used the funds to purchase a new house in Charleston, not far from my father's old home. While it wasn't the same, it was a place where I could create new memories with Emma and Jacob. The betrayal was a wound that took time to heal, but I emerged stronger and more resilient. I focused on rebuilding my life, leaning on friends and family for support. I also became more involved in the community, volunteering with local organizations and dedicating time to preserving Charleston's rich history. After Mark moved out, things were quieter, but not peaceful. I thought the worst was over. I was wrong. About 3 weeks into the divorce process, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Just my name, written in neat, careful handwriting. I opened it at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee, expecting maybe more legal papers or something from the kids' school. Inside was a single photo. Mark, Samantha, and my daughter, Emma. They were at a cafe in downtown Charleston. Emma had a milkshake in front of her, smiling wide. Mark was laughing. Samantha was looking right into the camera. I dropped the photo like it burned me. I hadn't told Emma anything yet. She was only 11. I just said Daddy had to go away for work for a while and we were spending some time apart. She didn't ask much, she was always a quiet kid. But now this? I called Mark immediately. He didn't pick up. I tried again. Voicemail. I texted, "You had Emma around her?" Without asking me? "Call me now." He replied 2 hours later, "Calm down. It was harmless. Emma likes her. Thought it was time they met." Time they met? I was shaking. That man was out of his mind. He thought he could sneak Samantha into her daughter's life like nothing had happened? I drove straight to my lawyer's office. We added an emergency clause to the custody documents, blocking him from having any unsupervised visits until a court reviewed the situation. He fought it, of course. Said I was poisoning the kids against him. But the judge sided with me. For now. That same week, I started getting messages. Random numbers. First it was just, "You ruined everything." Then, "Hope you enjoy that big old house alone." Then it got worse. Photos of my house. At night. Taken from the street. From the alley. My front porch. My backyard. One had my bedroom window circled in red. I filed a police report. But they couldn't do much unless someone actually did something. Could be a prank, they said. Maybe a neighbor's kid. But I knew. I just knew. Mark had a friend, Brian. They'd worked together years ago at a contracting firm in North Charleston. Brian was the kind of guy who always made you feel a little off. The type that stared too long, never really blinked, always talked about guns and survival plans. Mark used to joke about him being the guy you call if you ever want someone to disappear. I never liked him. And I hadn't seen or heard his name in years. Until one night, after a long day, I came home and my back gate was open. I always locked it. Always. Inside, nothing seemed touched. But in the mailbox, shoved in like it didn't belong, was another note. Sloppy handwriting this time. Sharpie on torn cardboard. "Should have kept your mouth shut." The police took it seriously now. They added a patrol to my street. I had cameras installed all around the house. Every angle. Even inside the garage. Emma and Jacob stayed with my sister for a week. I didn't want them anywhere near this mess. Then came the second twist. My lawyer called and said we needed to meet. Not over the phone. In person. That same afternoon, I drove to his office, trying not to spiral. I kept thinking maybe Mark was trying to fight me for the house. Maybe Samantha was pregnant. It was neither. My lawyer slid a document across the desk. It was a bank record, withdrawals, transfers, and a flagged wire. Mark had taken $250,000 from our joint account 2 days before I served him the divorce papers. Money I hadn't noticed missing because it had been split into small transactions and hidden through a fake business account he opened under my name. He'd stolen from me. Again. But this time, it wasn't just betrayal. It was fraud. Worse, when the investigators traced the account, it led back to an old storage unit outside of Savannah. They got a warrant. Inside the unit, high-end furniture, designer clothes, electronics, boxes of expensive watches, and documents. Fake IDs. Passports. One of them with my name and Samantha's photo. The agent handling the case looked at me and said, he was planning something big. Possibly an escape. That's when the reality hit me like a train. Mark wasn't just cheating. He wasn't just trying to play both sides. He was planning to take everything, maybe even run. And I had no idea how far he was willing to go. After they found the fake documents in that storage unit outside Savannah, I thought the worst had finally come to light. I thought that was the big reveal, the peak of the betrayal. But I was wrong. Again. 2 days after the storage unit discovery, I got a call from Detective Harris, the officer assigned to my case. Calm, firm voice. Told me I needed to come into the station. Said there was something I needed to see. When I got there, he handed me a printed screenshot from security footage. It showed Mark, clear as day, entering a local bank in Mt. Pleasant. The date was just 2 weeks prior. But here's the thing, that same day, he had told me he was in New York on business. The withdrawal? $30,000. In cash. And the teller? She recognized him. Even remembered his fake name, Michael Langley. Why that name? Because it was the same name used on the passport with Samantha's photo. Now it was a federal case. Identity theft, financial fraud, conspiracy. Detective Harris said it looked like Mark and Samantha were planning a complete life under different names. Maybe out of the country. Maybe somewhere they could live large off stolen money. I felt sick. What kind of man had I been married to for 17 years? How could I have missed this? And then came the final punch in the gut. That night, after getting home from the station, I sat in the kitchen staring at my phone. No kids. Just me and the silence. I kept replaying everything in my head. I don't even remember how long I sat there. At some point, I must have drifted off at the table. I woke up to the sound of my doorbell. It was 3:47 a.m. I didn't go to the door. I checked the cameras. On the front porch was Samantha. No mask. No hoodie. No hiding. Just standing there, holding something in her hand. A manila envelope. She rang the bell again. Waited. Then placed the envelope on the mat, looked straight at the camera, and left. I waited almost an hour before going outside to get it. Inside were photocopies of letters, ones Mark had written but never sent. Some to her. Some to me. Some, to my daughter. They were full of twisted apologies, half-lies, and delusional plans. In one, he said, "Laura will come around once she sees it was all for the kids. She just needs time. I know she'll understand. She always does." In another, "If this goes bad, remember to burn everything. The IDs, the logins, the keys. Everything. Will disappear, just like we planned." But the worst part? There was a handwritten letter. From Samantha. Addressed to me. It read, "You think you won, but you don't even know what's coming. Mark made mistakes, sure. But you pushed him. You ruined him. You'll regret this. Soon." I called Detective Harris that morning. The letter and photos were added to the case file. I upgraded my home security system again. Got a restraining order. Told my sister to keep the kids with her a while longer. And now? Now I wait. I wait for the next twist. Because with Mark, there's always another secret. And I'm done being surprised. The weeks that followed were a blur of fear, legal meetings, and constant looking over my shoulder. I kept waiting for Mark to show up. Kept wondering what Samantha meant in that letter. You don't even know what's coming. Then it came. It was a Thursday. Sunny, humid, typical Charleston spring. I had to pick up Emma early from school because she wasn't feeling well. When I got there, the office lady gave me a strange look. "Oh, your husband already signed her out," she said casually. My heart dropped into my stomach. "I'm sorry, what?" She looked up, confused. "He said there was a family emergency. She left with him 20 minutes ago." I don't remember what I said next. I just remember running. I called Mark's number, over and over. No answer. I called Jacob's school and told them under no circumstances was anyone to pick him up but me. Then I called Detective Harris. They tracked Mark's phone in under an hour. He was still in Charleston, at a private marina just outside downtown, near the Cooper River Bridge. The location pinged from his boat, a small one we used to take out on weekends. We hadn't used it in over a year. When I got there, Emma was sitting on the dock, wrapped in a towel, crying. She ran into my arms the second she saw me. "Mommy, I didn't want to go. He said we were going on an adventure but I got scared." Mark was already in handcuffs. Samantha wasn't there. But there were signs she had been. A second set of keys, a duffel bag with women's clothes, and another fake passport, this time with Emma's picture. They were going to take her. They were going to run. The confrontation happened right there, on the dock, with the wind whipping off the water and 3 officers holding Mark back. His face was red, veins bulging from his neck. He screamed over and over that he just wanted his family back. That I'd poisoned the kids against him. That I forced his hand. He kept yelling, "I never meant to hurt you. I did this for us." I just stood there, holding Emma, shielding her from his voice. "You used my father's house to cheat on me," I said quietly. You stole our money. You lied to our kids. And now you were going to kidnap our daughter? For us? Mark stopped yelling. For the first time, he looked small. And then he cried. Real, full-body sobs. He dropped to his knees, right there on the dock. The officers didn't even need to push him down. He whispered, I didn't know what else to do. The fallout was instant. Charges were filed: fraud, identity theft, attempted abduction. Samantha disappeared. The FBI was looking for her now. Mark sat in county lockup, refused bail. My family rallied. My sister moved in for a while. Jacob and Emma started therapy. So did I. The gossip around town spread quick. Charleston's tight-knit circles always talk. Some neighbors avoided me. Others brought casseroles. One woman at the grocery store whispered, You're brave, you know, as she passed by. I didn't feel brave. I felt tired. I thought about that house, my father's house. How I'd let it go thinking I was building something bigger. But maybe that house was already everything. The history. The roots. The warning signs I ignored. I sat down with Emma one night, weeks later. Told her everything, in pieces. She didn't say much, just hugged me and whispered, I'm glad I'm with you. That moment meant everything. The divorce was finalized quickly after the trial began. Everything that could be frozen was. My assets were returned. I got full custody. A judge even ordered Mark to pay restitution from any future income. Though we all knew that money might never come. I never saw Samantha again. One day, maybe I'll feel safe enough to date. Maybe. But not now. Now I'm rebuilding, not just a life, but a sense of self. I spend more time with my kids. We go to Folly Beach on weekends, eat boiled peanuts, and sit under the stars. Sometimes I still cry. But most days, I breathe. The truth? I don't know what the future looks like. I'm not sure if I'm hopeful or just numb. But I do know this, I may have lost the house. But I kept my name. I kept my children. And I kept my soul. Mark lost all three.